We have 2 SIG releases today. I wonder who the other SIG release is. I know who SIG testing is. I'll give folks another minute or so to join here. I'm just going through a few last minute looking bits of updates for the day.
That reminds me, I need to update that doc.
All right, well, I guess we're a couple minutes past. The main focus today, I think, will continue to be CI signal, but I'll go through the agenda. Let me just paste it in Zoom for anybody who doesn't have it handy, but who is here. As always, if you could put your name in the agenda, that would be useful. I am SIG Release in Zoom, aka Tim Pepper, the lead for the 112 release. This is a recorded meeting, so please be wonderful people during the meeting. It will be, or it is recorded, and it will be uploaded to YouTube for posterity after the call. So where are we? We are 2 weeks and a day from the release target. We're looking to cut beta 2 tomorrow, a week after that RC1, and a week after that release. The first thing to talk about in a minimal bit of detail, just glancing, actually he's not here, which is good, he's working on it. So just as a mention, Cole is looking to switch over the code freeze implementation to Tide basically right now. So depending on how long we go in the meeting, perhaps we'll have him show up and say, "It's alive, it's alive." But just FYI, that should be happening right now. Next on the list, CI signal. Since Friday, not a whole lot has happened necessarily. We've had a couple things merge that were thought perhaps to improve things, but I don't think I'm seeing it today on test grid, the couple things that I thought were going to improve. In particular, there's one around taint node by condition, that where something is merged there late yesterday, and if it was going to make a change, we should have seen it today. The owners in China, so I will be following up. I've already pinged them, but I don't expect them to see those pings for another 8 or 9 hours, but I'll be following up with them later. One thing that I would like the team's thoughts on, and maybe Aaron, if you have a suggestion. So on the second issue in the list there, 68314, we've got a storage issue, and Michelle thought that she had a fix in place, but it didn't get picked up in test. We couldn't figure out why at the end of the week, and I asked in SIG testing, and others couldn't as well. So I'm wondering who might be somebody we could escalate to on the test infra side to understand what might have gone wrong there.
I will have to take a look at this, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
But well, I know that one. Yeah, it's unclear. Released version of 111. If you caught that here, my internet connection appears to be unstable. I will type in chat.
Perfect, and I'll follow up with you after. Thank you. Let's see. We do have one thing that looks like it fixed conclusively on the list, 68313, and then there was one last week that on Friday I thought it looked like it had gotten fixed and discussion had been indicating so 66243, but it turned out I was just tricked by test grid and it was failing all along, and we hadn't actually gotten confirmation from the owners that a change had happened, so I'll be following up there today. On the bucket of things related to GKE, GCE still where triage was going on, do you know of any status updates there? I know there wasn't necessarily a whole lot of additional work probably done on Friday.
Yeah, I have to follow up with them. I didn't after our call on Friday. So I also see that the persistent volume one is still failing. So you would need, um, you want me to check up with them onto why the test isn't picking it up, or?
Yeah, if you have anybody, I think anybody basically who has an idea of who we might be able to get to triage a little more what might have happened there. And yeah, it may be something on that side as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as of last Friday, they said that was the only thing that they were actively looking into. Or the other ones, at least they said, wouldn't block our release. So
And I'm just noticing. So one of the theories last week was perhaps that it picks up the latest release.
yeah.
And Aaron mentioned in chat just now that since 1.11.3 was cut this morning, we may see it get picked up there as well. So
Okay.
we might get a bit of confirmation there. It may actually just solve things in the meantime.
Yeah, I will. I'll follow that particular issue to see, where it is and why
Okay.
is it not being up in our branch, and also follow up with GK folks to see if there's anything else that they're triaging for our release.
Okay.
That would be nice.
Okay, I think that's the main things we needed to talk about from that list. Did I hear Mohammed's voice? Did you want to add anything else?
No, so I guess we are getting slightly better now, but there are still threads. The main thing I'm personally worried about is the less amount of response I've got with respect to Freehan and Bowie. I have pinged them on personally. I've done a PM as well, and I'm expecting a response at the earliest. So other than that, other stuff is getting worked on.
So on that one, that's the bottom one on the list there. Does anybody personally know the users Freehand and Bowie? They're listed as Google and possibly Mountain View. I just wanted to confirm if there's a time zone skew, if that might be part of our issue with connecting with them.
I know Bowie. I can talk to him. I sit pretty close to him.
Okay, cool. Is that Caleb's voice?
Yes, Caleb.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can you paste the issue in chat for me?
Yes, coming up. Just a moment. There it is. Okay, so then I think I will move on to non-CI signal issues with Gwen. And Gwen may have been on another call right before this.
Yeah,
I'm
just getting combobulated here. That's not a word. Okay.
It is. It's totally a word.
Anyway, let me get situated. Like you said, nothing much happened over the weekend. There is a new issue, another SIG storage issue. I triaged the related pull request into the milestone. It's a really large one, so I'm hopeful, but just a little cautious about that one.
Which number is that one?
The very last one on the bottom, 68378.
Okay.
New in the milestone. It's not a new issue. Well, no, it is. It is a new issue too, 4 days old. And on Friday, it got triaged into a milestone after the meeting. There are a couple related pull requests where I just decided to add them to the milestone and add the critical urgent label simply because it was on the related issue, and it's just faster if I do it because and we're at that point in the release. I'm currently going through these individual issues to update them. A couple of them flipped from red to at least orange, which is nice, but I still haven't seen any pull requests merge. I see a whole lot of issues that are like this close to merging. So hopefully by Wednesday, we'll see improvements here. I don't think that things got worse.
Okay.
Even though there's an extra issue, but overall, I think we're holding level with hope for the future.
Yeah, last week we kind of transitioned into the point where with code freeze, people are starting to look a little more. So and also I think the beta release, as we get closer to the releases, we speculate that people start looking at them, using them slightly more.
Oh, so, I just yelled at people, and then they were like,
well, yeah,
"Oh yeah, oops, sorry."
So my strong hope is by kind of middle of the week, those things that are really close, we close on, and we're seeing gradual improvement on the test status then as well for the things that are test related.
I solemnly promise to never use big words on Monday again.
Oh,
For anybody who's not looking at the chat, there's a Monday morning goofy chat going on. All right, well, I think that's probably good then for issues. And again, like, this is kind of a reminder that the issue pace is really low compared to, say, earlier this year and prior times when issues were required in the connection to PRs. So as we move forward, I suspect we are going to want to do some thinking about what to do for how we deal with issues and how that ties in with proposed changes through SIG-PM, because we don't want to squander a person's time if there's less and less going on with issues, or they're mostly the CI signal ones. So we gotta do some thinking as we close the cycle and start the next 113, how we wanna improve this as well.
Triage all the PRs like we used to issues.
Yeah, probably. Yep. And I appreciate that you're looking at them. My worry is that a PR is slightly different than a bug report. A good PR is, hey, here's the bug and here's the fix, but the fix part usually lags the recognition of the bug part, just kind of by definition. So I worry about the visibility there, the way we're doing things, that we have a little less risk management because we don't have time to see quite as much, and maybe something languished for a week or two when we could have rallied some help to the individual doing the PR. But it's hard to know because we don't have a lot of visibility there. Anything else, Gwen?
Not particular. This really feels like we just got back from the weekend, and
Yep.
Let's see what happens in the next couple days.
Totally.
I will still run around bugging people.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And I see Mr. Augustus is on the line. We've had a number of things change on features. We are getting some things continuing to fall out of the release. Do you have anything you'd like to say? Are you on mute? Are you there? There you are. Maybe.
Good old mute button. So yeah, we did a lot of turf snagging last week, and then things have dropped quite a bit. The status that is there is pretty accurate, because I think the last sweep I did was on Friday. Let me just check if anything has changed. And computer, come on. Sorry, I'm having terrible internet issues, apparently.
Probably the summary, at least, just that we've pinged people who we didn't necessarily have responses from. We do continue to get a few more folks opening Docs PR, and then we do have a few things that are still kind of questionable. The one thing that I wanted to mention, I guess, there, if you're on the milestone burn down list, you'll have seen a few exception requests come by for a few things that were basically immediate right at the beginning of the week, and saying like, hey, this is just an alpha feature. We need just another day or two. We're basically ready. We've been pending a review for the last week or two or something like that. Just the reviews are done, and one other person was needed to respond with a LGTM or something like that. Yeah, okay, fine. I'll let it in because alpha is a little bit lower risk, and that, again, at the SIG's discretion. I'm not going to block it. There have been a few where I basically wasn't happy but deferred to the SIG, and the SIG said, no, let's wait. And then there's one issue 598 on webhook conversions for CRDs. There's desire for this. Makes sense. I mean, it was discussed at KubeCon in Copenhagen. It's a obvious need, but they're basically saying that they need until the release date to be ready. Granted, it's alpha and would be gated, but to merge something on release day, I mean, my answer is no, but they're still pushing for an exception. And unless the SIG comes back and vehemently says this must go in, it's not going to go in.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything with regards to the CRD webhook conversion since that discussion.
Yeah.
So I'd like to assume that it's strike down, but I'm not too sure yet. With regards to the features, the current status is 44 total features. 8 are at risk. I've left them at risk with regards to docs. I'm tracking, in addition to the docs team, I'm also like following the docs PRs that remain to go in. It looks like we're getting LGTMs and approvals on some of them. So I think I would say I think someone put in a chartreuse status, so I'd like to say the same.
You're welcome.
I love it.
Anything else you want to mention there?
No, we're good to go.
Okay. The next on the agenda is just in the classic burn down agenda format that we've had was PRs, but I've actually gone and bumped that up into the bug triage section since we were talking about that, and Gwen had already commented on it, but we can start for the next number of days just kind of giving it treatment there together. I think that actually makes more sense.
Sorry, I missed the context for this.
Just the burn down template in the agenda. We've had sort of a series of things that we go through, and just talking about PRs was separate than talking about bugs, and I've just shifted it up in the agenda because we've been talking about them together. So we'll
Yep.
start going forward. So chartreuse then, docs.
Hello. I had to turn off my video. Tell me if this is unintelligible. I am
Hearing you
on
fine. Your video
Okay,
was
cool.
choppy and fuzzy earlier, but we don't need to see you. Yeah.
Perfect. That's probably the more important part anyway. So we're at status chartreuse, which is the Sierra Mist of statuses for docs. I had a personal merge party last night and this morning on a plane back from Minneapolis. And it looks like we have about 60% of all of the PRs in some workable shape of in progress. That includes PRs that have been merged. I'm sorry, have been completed as drafts, and those that still are placeholders. The ones that are complete, about 30%. I'm still missing like just absolutely no response in the features repo or nothing in the feature tracking spreadsheet for 4 docs, which is worrying because it's not even a placeholder. I don't know which ones they are off the top of my head, but I am feeling, just as everyone suspected on Friday, I'm feeling much better about docs after I actually spent the time and got some work done with merging everything. So yes, that's where we're at.
Okay, that is an improvement, and it is, sadly, we know that these are always, there's a good chunk of them that are always trailing, but we do have a little bit of time, but it makes a lot of late, busy, unnecessary work for people, like you mentioned on Friday, the translations and things like that. It is a frustration that these are late. Okay, let's see, do we have Nick? I don't see Nick. I don't know that there's too much more to note. Oh, but we have Mike. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. Hey guys. So or guys and girls, I should say. We all of the release note shadows and Nick last week got together, and we did the final cut from the release notes draft into the HackMD, so that we can start interacting with SIG leads to get them to both revise the set of release notes that were for attach their SIG, as well as put together a paragraph in prose for kind of the, what do they call it, the main kind of talking points of the release notes, which are in prose at the top of the doc. Unfortunately, we ran into a problem where the document is too long for HackMD. unfortunately. So right now we're back to how we were doing it last release, which was we took the markdown, put it in a Google Doc, and then invited everyone to the Google Doc. Less than ideal, but we're working with HackMD on hopefully getting the limit raised, but that's the status of things now. So we're just starting to copy edit the notes and reach out to SIGs and get that dialed in for the release.
Cool, thank you. That's a bummer on the HackMD issue, but these things happen. So comms, I know we owe you review of the document there by tomorrow. I need to do a scrub with Stephen on things that have dropped since sort of Thursday, Friday. I know there's a couple of things glancing at the document that have fallen away from, like, so the Windows Server containers, that's not going to be officially announced as stable GA, but I need to do a detailed look through the feature list relative to the draft there, but I will get my review there registered by later today. Anything that y'all want to say?
So just to note as well, I sent an email out to the comms just to let them know that was the status. So I'm not sure if anyone is on from comms. I think so, maybe. Okay, I'll shut up now. I see Caitlin and Kristen.
No, I was just going to say, I think we're in really good shape other than that Windows feature dropping. I think we're in really good shape with the other three that were going to be the major announcements. And then I'm guessing some from the additional notable features section have dropped. So I can help clean that up this week as well. I'm missing one SIG review, but otherwise I think we're still in pretty good shape.
So have either of you talked to SIG Cluster Lifecycle and Tim St. Clair in particular? I had been under the impression earlier in the cycle that the kubeadm one there on simplified cluster creation, that wasn't going to happen until 1.13, but then it is still listed as present, and they seemed slightly on the fence, and I was supposed to get an answer definitively on Friday, but we'll follow up unless you all have heard, yes, affirmative, it is happening. Okay, I'll take silence as I need to chase that down. And I just have this nagging feeling that they were somewhat on the fence there. So I'll make sure I get the affirmative.
About which one specifically?
Okay, so this is the cluster creation one with kubeadm. So
simplify kube cluster creation. So I think that's the feature to take kubeadm to GA, and
yeah.
I believe that's flipped to 1.13.
So that one slipped, and then so we had two. There was basically kubeadm cluster creation and kubeadm upgrade, but I was unclear on which or if both slipped for sure. So I will go nail that down for sure and confirm. Because that's a very, either of those going stable GA is a really noteworthy one. And if either is happening this cycle, I definitely want to make sure that we capture that. And if not, to make sure that we're precise on which or what, and then to know that that's on the list for the next time as well.
Yep, got it.
Okay, I'm just going to stick a giant Post-it note on my forehead about that.
How many do you have up there right now?
There's a lot. Although there's getting to be less and less up here. Okay, so I think that takes us pretty much to the end of the normal key things. We've got a couple of process notes there, same as previously. Just make sure that y'all are adding things to the retro doc. We like to do a retrospective and talk about things that we could have done better, things that we did do better that we should continue to do. And then also anything there that's something concrete that could end up as an improvement to the role handbooks for the release process would be awesome. And then Aisha's 113 team is starting to staff up. There have been some PRs and things out there. So definitely looking for volunteers, especially I think in the shadow ranks there. Anything that you want to mention, Aish?
I'm not sure. I thought we wanted to take some time for the leads to nominate the incoming leads for this for 113. If there's nothing else left on the agenda, do we want to quickly go with that?
Yeah, we do have 5 minutes or 4 minutes still.
Oh, is it a half an hour meeting? I thought
No,
it was.
you know what? You're right. Today,
we've got.
yeah, it's
hour.
Monday. We have the full hour. So yeah, we can. So before we go to that, anything else 112 release blocking critical that needs brought up or discussed?
Aaron just posted an update to that.
Yeah, so the thing that wasn't being picked up on test, it does look like it needs it pulls in the latest release, not the latest head of the prior branch on the upgrade test. So with the 111.3 release today, that change should get picked up in test, and I'll follow up with Michelle unless somebody else has already updated that issue. Then we will see what we get a little bit later today.
Michelle just updated something.
Yes, I see
Michelle
that.
just updated, but it's still failing tests. That PR is still failing. Okay.
Okay, well, we'll watch that space today. Oh, this reminds me of something else too. I am getting on a plane a few minutes into the meeting that's scheduled for tomorrow morning. Aish, is there any chance that you would be available to run tomorrow's meeting?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I can do that, and we can sync offline about.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And I don't know how I missed that earlier. I should have coordinated that sooner. But then should I hand it to you? Want to talk about 113?
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So, yeah, thanks to Stephen, we've kickstarted the 113 team, filling out the team roles. And let me quickly paste the link to the bug and the PR in the chat in case some of you missed it. So there's a GitHub issue and a tracking PR where folks have been self-nominating and also nominating incoming shadows and leads. So there are a few spots that have already been filled and a few that are open for discussion. So Stephen, do you want to talk a couple of words about the process itself before we open it out to nominations?
Hey, sure, yeah. So essentially what we've been trying to do this release cycle is mirror the process that we tried for the previous release cycle, which is essentially have a committee of nominees, a committee of the leads and shadows nominate people on the release team meeting. So the last time around, we essentially said, "Hey, Tim Pepper, that guy sounds awesome. Let's do it." Right. So I think the first step we should do is officially nominate our release team lead for 113. So,
I officially nominate Aish as the lead for 113.
Boom. All right.
Thank you. It's big shoes to fill.
So I'd like to make one note regarding features moving into the next release cycle. There is active work between SIG PM and SIG architecture to move the KEPS process forward. So moving away from design proposals and moving away from features being the primary means of tracking. That will probably take at least one release cycle, but I want to note for this release cycle that we will be changing the name of the features role to enhancements, right? Just to kind of track along with that effort. So with that said, I would like to formally endorse Kendrick Coleman for the enhancements lead spot.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Welcome, Kendrick. We can go through the leads first and then quickly jump to the shadows. And for CI, I've had a couple of discussions with Mohammed around this, around filling the CI role for 113. And given the criticality of the role, Mohammed and I've spoken also to Josh and a couple of other folks. Josh volunteered to fill the CI role for 113. And Josh is not on the call today. I think he's
away this weekend.
Yeah.
Which Josh is this?
This is Josh Burkis. He was the release lead for 111. So yeah, he kindly offered to fill any role that we might need help with, and CI was one thing that came up in the discussion. So I would like to know if everybody's on board with it, or if anybody else wants to self-nominate. We can open it up to discussion as well.
Josh seems great. Like he'll have the right amount of paranoia.
Yeah, Josh is cool.
Yeah, cool. Okay, then I'll move on to the next one. Test infra. Again, we had Cole, who was the lead for test infra for 112, and Amit was his shadow. But considering 113 would be the first full release, that'll be on Tide. Cole kind of preferred to continue as the lead so that we can battle test Tide through the entire release cycle and close up any loops that's there, so that the next shadow will be able to run with it more smoothly from 114. So in the bug, you'll find discussions which led to Cole remaining as the 113 infra lead. Again, open up to any questions / preferences here. Cool.
I really appreciate that he's staying on for this. I do think this is an area where, especially those of us who are not at Google, we need to work with our corporate sponsor entities to bring more people into this space, to get more folks engaged on test infra. And the Google commitment to fund this through the CNCF is awesome, but we need other people to join in that. And it's not just the dollars funding, but like the human brain cells, hands-on keyboard as well, to be more active there. So no objection to him, but I'm hoping to see more of others come into the shadow pipeline and get more involved as time goes by here.
Cool. Next role is bug triage. I'll let Gwen talk to this.
So I had above average number of shadows, and they were awesome. And it was really, really hard to pick one of them, but it turned out that with everyone's responsibilities and things crystallizing out, Nick Parentitis is the best choice, and he has happily agreed to take on the role for 113. So that is my nomination.
Yay. Thanks for awesome work and also mentoring Nico.
Yeah, no, they made it easy. They were super helpful. And actually, Nick was the one who made my spreadsheet look awesome before I showed it to you. I was just like, hey, I think I'm awesome because you made the spreadsheet look better. So there's that. Yeah, and I think Nick also has some ideas for a shadow. So I'm not sure what exactly happened there. He can speak to that, I think. I'm not sure he's on the call right now.
Nice.
So let's hold off on shadow nominees just until we get through the leads.
Yeah, totes. Sorry, I didn't mean to actually prompt anybody. Just.
Yeah, branch manager. I don't know if Doug is on the call. Yeah, I see Doug. And again, this was something that Tim, Doug, and I discussed offline a little bit. Again, it's similar to the test infra role. The branch manager also went through quite a bit of piloting, and all for the good to move the role a little bit, untie it from being Google-centric. And both Tim and Doug did great. They went leaps and bounds in getting this done, this milestone. But there are still some open ends there that need to be fixed. And towards that, the suggestion was for Doug to remain as the branch manager and close that out. And then so that the shadow can take over in 114. But I let Tim and Doug talk to this a little bit more, and then we can, again, discuss that in case somebody else wants to fill the role as well.
I think you summarized it well. A lot changed there, and it would be useful to have a little bit more continuity. I know Aaron has mentioned like this wholesale shift of one set of people to the next is sometimes problematic. So especially where there's a lot that happened, it would be good to have that continuity just for another few months and make sure we've really got things solidified and transfer knowledge well.
I agree. I was originally expecting the role to get handed to one of the shadows, but when I spoke with Aish about it, I'm happy to do it, and we still haven't actually made it through a full release yet, so we still probably have more to learn. And things like this past Friday were pretty eventful, and we learned quite a bit there. So, my plan, Tim and I had Zoomed a number of times to kind of get our footing with this tooling and process, and with 113, definitely we'll do a better job of opening it up to others to join in that.
And I would also mention that we had two really awesome shadows here, both Hannes and Young Lee. The fact that this was in flux and questionable, that they were around to help trial and back up Doug while he was gone. If either of you are interested in continuing to shadow, I would see you as great candidates to take over the role in the near future as well, if you're interested or willing.
I am definitely interested in, again, shadowing Doug.
Great.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. So we'll just keep things kind of stable there for the next release.
Cool. Next up is dogs. Zach.
Hello.
Hey.
So I would like to formally nominate Tim Fogarty from MLab. He, I believe, is on this call. Not only is he a genius and a developer advocate, he is also got one of the coolest accents on planet Earth, and would make.
Oh, we lost him here.
Oh no! Did you lose me?
We heard most of it. Tim, anything you'd like to say, so we can hear that awesome accent?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Zach is being too kind, but yeah.
Cool. Welcome to the team.
Cheers. Excited to get started.
Yeah. Next up, release notes. Nick or Mike, whoever is on the call.
Yeah, I'm here. I mean, I've been release note shadow for the past 2 releases. I think I was a little more active this last release than I was in the one before, but I'd be happy to stay on as lead, or I'd be happy to be release notes lead for 113. I nominated myself. For sure, happy to help. Yeah, I like hanging out with y'all, and this is fun. And I think there's a lot of work that still needs to happen with release tooling, and I'd like to continue to work on integrating some of that stuff into more ongoing automation and expanding the scope of it, making sure that the branch cuts before the actual release also have the fully contextualized release notes, integrate some ongoing copy editing stuff so that this last 2 weeks is a little easier next time, stuff like that. So whether I'll be lead or shadow, I'm happy to keep working on that stuff.
Cool. Thanks for all the tooling improvements there. Yeah, it's awesome. Cool. Next up, so next couple of roles, we don't have it filled out in the PR. So the next one is communications. Caitlin, do you want to?
Yeah, I'd love to volunteer again for 113 as communications lead.
Awesome. Great. Okay, I'll make a note of it and then we'll update the PR after this. Awesome. Thank you. And the last but not the least is the patch release manager. I know there was a thread offline where Caleb had nominated a Googler, but I'm sorry, I missed the name of the person there.
I have it here.
Alexandra Malinowski? Getting that right?
I think so, yeah.
Caleb, are you still on the call? It does not look like it.
I don't see Caleb now. So Caleb and I chatted a bit on Friday. One of the things that I'd like to see here, and Aaron had mentioned this earlier as well, that having one person solely alone responsible for patch releases for 9 months is potentially not the most sustainable thing over time. So I've got some ideas there, and if nothing else, we can start making it a team. So I had sort of self-nominated as is lead there, intending to try to build out a bit of a team and do some changes, hopefully to ensure that as both the project grows and as it gets a higher level of stature, with potentially then what typically happens in open source is projects really start to grow, they get more attacker eyeballs looking at them, you start having more CVEs, and that leads to a lot bigger workload on backports and things like that. So that's not necessarily happening today. It's not necessarily going to become a tidal wave that overwhelms us over the next 9 months alone, but I think it's time to start thinking about how we do a more sustainable process than just having one individual there. And obviously with CVEs, you also have the security team's help on making sure that backports and stuff happen, but I think it's an area where we need to do some thinking. So I'm totally fine if Alexandra is interested in leading that. I'd like to also try to shadow there, and similar to what I was doing with Doug, just trying to make sure that we've got improved documentation and are thinking about making sure we have something solid going forward. So
so I totally agree with what you're saying, Tim. I think just in kind of mulling around how to do the SIG release charter, I feel that we have 3 teams emerging as sub-projects, one being the release team itself, which we kind of say is a sub-project but have not actually documented. So again, that PR is in flight. I will be doing that. Secondarily, we should have an official release engineering team, so people who are interested in that, and this kind of leads to, I see Gwen agreeing profusely. So secondarily, we should have a release engineering team, and Tim, I think you would be a good advocate for that. And last, we have an effort around licensing and compliance, and assuring that things that happen in vendor folders and things that happen across the project have the appropriate licenses for the CNCF. I'm leading that effort. I think along with Nikita and Steve Winslow from the CNCF. So I think there should be 3 sub-projects. If anyone has thoughts on that, please let me know.
Cool. Only strong support for a support team that can automate some of the work we do, because it's really hard to do it while you're also doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just is.
About firefighting, yeah. Cool. Aaron says that he has a proposal by retro time for the subgroup. Yeah. Awesome. Aaron, did you want to add something before we move on to the shadows? Okay. Cool. All right. So if nobody has objections, I'd like to move on to the shadows. So first up is release lead shadow. Thanks to Aaron, he's kindly accepted to be the shadow for 113. I'm going to be leaning a lot on him for guidance and how things, and also domain expertise and everything. Thanks, Aaron. And yeah, he can watch over me while I kind of try to find my way around 113. Yeah. So Aaron is our release lead shadow. Next up is features. We had about 3 shadows last time for features. It was, let me bring up my screen. Michael, Gwen. Oh no, last time shadows were different, and this time we have nominations like Michael and Gwen have put their names for it. Does anybody else want to shadow features?
So we have some additional requests that I think just came in with regards to feature shadowing. Shupeksha, who is my co-chair for SIG Azure, I would like to see Michael continue as a feature shadow. I think he was very excited about it and interested in continuing. So he's definitely up for one. Scrolling through thread.
Yeah, that was and Rajendra from last time.
Say what? So I'd also like to make a note about shadows in general, and this is something that Tim, Aish, and myself were discussing. I think it's very important to note that being a shadow doesn't necessarily automatically increase your ability to take over the lead role for the next cycle. It really is a function of your involvement and how confident the current lead is in handing over the role, as well as what the incoming and outgoing leads general vote of confidence is. So just be aware of that as you're continuing to shadow roles or starting to shadow roles, that it's very important to be active and engaged in the process.
We also had Gwen, who's interested in shadowing features. Is that right, Gwen?
Yep, that's right.
And Robert or Rajendra, if any of you are on the call, do shout out if you want to shadow once again. Okay. Moving on to CI Signal, is Christian or Suraj, either of you who shadowed from last time, if you guys are on the call?
Neither of them are on the call.
No, neither of them are on the call, yeah.
Okay. And yeah, we don't have a CI shadow for this cycle. If any of you want to be a CI shadow, yeah, you could please, if you could comment on the PR.
And as we find that we have gaps in this as well, we can go to the community meeting and other forums as well and put the call out additionally. I mean, it's been out there before, but it's I think for a lot of people it's daunting to volunteer for something like this. I know Aishu mentioned it earlier, and I'll say it's daunting to do it, but it's fun and rewarding, right? So you are doing a useful contribution here, and I think for somebody who's maybe a little on the fence, and this was my case going back to a year ago in December, like you hear that broad call and it's like, I don't know. But as it gets a little more specific, you maybe think, well, I could do that, and there's somebody out there will hear the message and be interested in volunteering as it becomes a little more focused, and hopefully we can suss out a few more volunteers there.
Cool. And next,
so
board, we can also post it over there. Discuss, yeah, we could post it over there saying there are some shadow openings.
Yeah, so we have it up on Discuss right now, just the open call. But if maybe it would be a good idea to kind of hone in on the specific roles. Shivani Mall has volunteered for CI Shadow. She's not on the call, but just noting that for the record.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome.
We've also got one more person, Morton, who's volunteered as well. So I think there was some discussion, and I'm not sure that we specifically nailed it down, but the idea of interviewing shadows that may be interested in the cycle, just to get kind of where their head's at, and an idea of time commitment might be a good move to make sure that we kind of continue the process and we have people who are dedicated to it. So.
For folks who are volunteering, we want to know that you have the ability to be successful. It's okay if the role is a bit of a stretch, but we want to have a sense of what you acknowledge you need to learn so that we can support that in mentoring as well.
Yeah, a couple of new folks have been pinging me on Slack before they sign up for Shadows, which is like a good thing. So I've been like clarifying a little bit about the commitment and the expectation there. But yeah, it's always good to maybe have like a informal questionnaire or something, just so that both ways we are clear.
Yeah, although, and I think we need to make it blatantly clear that if they're going to volunteer, they will have to do something. I mean, I get that they might have to pull off later on or something like that, but that can happen for unforeseen consequences. But they need to be aware that they need to actually be actively involved to remain a shadow as well.
Cool. So quickly going over in the last 10 minutes. Next up is test infra. Amit, who is a shadow in 112, agreed to continue as a shadow. Is Paul or Ravi or anybody else who would like to shadow test infra on the call?
I would like to shadow test infra. Having said that, I don't know if this works out time-wise with also shadowing the release branch manager. But generally, I would be very interested in test infra.
I think test infra would, currently the way it works is still tied to Google at HIP, but then yeah, we can definitely pilot, take you as a pilot for the non-Googler test infra, and then try to iron out all the kinks there. Q1-ish, but then yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
Next up is bug triage. I know, Gwen, you had awesome shadows who would still like to shadow.
I'm not actually sure what the current status is on. I asked one of them. Well, I asked Arnaud to shadow, but I think he's interested in a different shadow role. So currently, I think what's going on is that Nick had some idea for a shadow, but I don't know the actual current status of that.
No issues. I think we can, yeah.
I think Jeremy might be up for shadowing again, though.
So Arnaud looks like he is interested in shadowing the enhancements side of it this time around, and it looks like Mohammed is interested in doing bug triage shadowing this time.
Awesome.
Yep.
Wait, what enhancements?
Enhancement or features.
Oh,
Features
sorry.
that are not enhancements.
It sounded okay. Sorry. I'm glad we got clarification.
Awesome. Okay, and last few. Branch manager, this role had quite a few people interested. I know Yang and Haynes, if I'm telling the name correctly, you guys expressed interest in continuing as shadows. And there was also Dawal, yeah, he was interested in shadowing, and of course, Jeremy. Is that Jeremy? I'm sorry if I'm getting the name wrong. He was interested in shadowing as well. So I think that role has quite a few people interested. Anybody else on the call? Awesome. Over to docs. Did we get any people for this, Stephen?
So I think the shadows were going to be, for at a minimum, Jim Angel was interested in doing that. And then I was too, but kind of more from like a mentory / automation-y role. I would like to sort of flesh out more some of these lovely little tools that we've built in the docs team to pester people and to review PRs a bit quicker. So I don't know if that's legal and technically still being part of a release team, but it's specifically geared towards a release. So I figured I'd just say.
Okay. Awesome.
So I've got a drop, but I'm going to look at the last few minutes and just update it as accordingly.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. So there's release notes still. I don't know if Dave or Lindsay, any of them are on the call. They were the shadows from 112.
Lindsay, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going. If not, I was just going to ask Mike if he knew if anybody was interested.
I'm not sure. I would have to follow up with them privately offline, but I will do so and follow up on the doc.
Yeah, this is Dave Strable. I was.
Cool.
And talked to Nick about it.
Lindsay had reached out to me on Slack and indicated probably a little less availability. Had been interning during the summer, going back to school to finish, but is interested in continuing to be involved in the project. So is looking for ways to do that. So we'll see what we can figure out as the time goes by here.
Cool. Okay, the final one is comms. We currently have Carrie and Kristen. Are either of you on the call? I see Kristen is.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey there, this is Kristen. I'd love to shadow Caitlin again for 113.
Cool. Awesome. And we leave that as is. Cool. And that brings us to the end of the nominations. And I think the plan is to present this in the SIG release tomorrow. and probably call out for more broader involvement in the community meeting for roles that we still have open. The good thing is all the lead roles are filled, which is awesome. Thanks to Stephen for kicking this off early. Yeah. That's it. Over to Tim then.
Nothing else to say. Aaron mentioned, I guess, there in Zoom that we are switching to Tide, or we have switched successfully, rather. So, yay! I don't think anything else, and I have another call to drop for here in a moment as well. So, unless anybody has anything that they'd like to say, final thing today.
Cole, I think you have something to say.
Oh, there he is.
Is he going to come off mute?
Yes. Sorry, one sec. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so Tide is now running on KK. If you go to, here, I'll post a link in the chat. We've got some results coming in now. There is a little bit of a question that I have. So it is working now. There's a one like minor catch though, which is that we've been getting pretty high error rates from GitHub this morning. So I just deployed the config so that Tide will start considering KK, but I didn't restart the Tide deployment itself. So that means that existing PRs that haven't been updated since we started it are not going to have their statuses updated until we restart the Tide pod. That being said, if any PR is bumped or like has any changes made to it at all, like a comment or a reaction, Tide will pick it up and set the status correctly. So right now we are considering all the PRs for merge and everything, but we're just not setting statuses on new or on PRs that haven't been touched recently. So I could restart Tide and have it touch all of those PRs and have it update their statuses. But we could get into a situation where we don't set statuses for a while because of errors from the GitHub API.
Honestly, I'm kind of okay with that slight friction on velocity just because we are in code freeze, and anything that needs to be going through critically urgent, I mean, there should be plenty of activity on it to cause it to get reassessed.
Yeah, so I was thinking that could actually just be, it could be better just to require people to bump the PRs for now. But,
yeah, we can watch the next bit and see if we have any sense of any manual intervention needed there. I'm not particularly worried.
Yeah, we could wait, and if we see people like being confused about the missing status or something, I could restart it at that point.
And I'm gonna guess at most there's like one or two or something like that. I mean,
yeah.
We at any moment we've had like at most 20 things that are like 20 open PRs or so. So it's not like there's a big volume right now. And this is one of the benefits of doing this now versus during normal development part of the cycle.
Cool. Well, Tide's already merged a few things because of the because we have relaxed requirements with Tide. We can merge things to the previous release branches. Those branches had some PRs that were actually ready to be merged. So we've merged some and we're batch testing some other ones now. And then there's two things in the release branch that are for, oh, I guess that's 111, not 112. Yeah. But things seem to be working properly.
Cool.
And
awesome.
I think the statuses are working too, the ones that are appearing.
All right. Well, we are at the end of the hour. So thank you, everybody. I shall follow up with you about tomorrow's meeting. Okay, awesome. Thank you. And we'll see everybody who's able to make the meeting tomorrow. If you're not, please drop an update. I'll get the meeting agenda ready for tomorrow right now, just so you can put status up there as you have it. And we will do this all again. 10 more days. I agree with Gwen's face. All right. Bye, everyone.
See ya.